Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna
Krishna
devotees.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
everyone.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Everyone.
So, who's reciting Sanskrit today and who's reciting English? Just remind me, please.
It's Vishalini and Namnichor. Namnichor is reciting in English. I'm doing Sanskrit.
And you're doing Sanskrit, Mataji?
Yes.
All right, let me just get my screen. We are doing chapter 11. All right, let me share my screen. So welcome everyone to this chat session. We will now recite the verses from the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, entitled The Universal Form. And we will be doing up till verse number 27. So Mataji, you can see my screen?
I'll be reading from my Kindle. I'm partially excited.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'll leave, for the others' benefit, I'll also keep it up on the screen. So you can say the invocation first.
Yes.
And then start.
Okay, thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oh, my screen is gone. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 11, Vishwarup Darshan Yoga, the Universal Form. Text 1. Arjuna Vacha Mad Anugrahaya Paramam Guryam Adhyatam Sajnitam Yatva Yoktam Vachas Tena Mohoyam Vigato Mama.
Arjuna said, by my hearing the instructions you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subjects, my illusion has now been dispelled.
Text 2. Bhavapyayo hi bhutanam shrutto vistaraso maya svata kamala patraksha mahatmayam api chavyayam.
Oh, lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity and have realized your inexhaustible glories.
Text 3. Evameta yathatvam atmana parmeshwara drishtam ichchami te rupam aishwaram purushottama.
O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours.
Text 4. Manyase yati tachakyam maya drishtum iti prabho yogeshwar tato me tvam darsyatmanam avyayam.
If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that unlimited universal self.
Text 5. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Pasya me partha rupani satashotha sahasrasha nana vidani divyani nana varna kripini cha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjun, O son of Pita, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied, divine and multicolored forms.
Text 6. Pasya adityan vasun rudran ashvena marutas tatha bahunya adrashta purvani pasya ashcharyani bharata.
O best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Aswini Kumaras, and all the other demigods. Behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard of before.
Text 7. Ihaikastam jagat kritsnam pasyadya sa characharam mama dehi gudakesha yachanyat drishtum ichasi.
O Arjuna, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see and whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything, moving and non-moving, is here completely in one place.
Text 8. Na tu mam sakyasya drishtam ananyeva sva chaksusha divyam dadami te chakshu pashyame yogam aishwaram.
But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give you divine eyes. Behold my mystic opulence.
Text 9. Sanjay vacha evam utva tato rajan mahayogeshwaro hari darshayam asha parthaya paramam rupam aishwaram.
Sanjay said, O king, having spoken thus, the Supreme Lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjuna.
Texts 10 and 11. Aneka vaktra nayanam, aneka adbhut darshanam, aneka divya bharanam, divya aneko dyata yudham, divya malyambaradharam, divya gandha anulepanam, sarvascharya mayam devam, anantam vishwato mukham.
Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited wonderful visions. The form was decorated with many celestial ornaments and bore many divine upraised weapons. He wore celestial garlands and garments, and many divine saints were smeared over his body. All was wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, all expanding.
Text 12. Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhavedyugpad Uthita Yadi Vahi Satrashi Sasyat Asastasya Mahatmana.
If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form.
Text 13. Tatraiksam Jagatakritznam Pravibhaktam Anekada Apashya Deva Devasya Sharire Pandavastada Tada.
At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands.
Text 14. Tata sa Vishma
bestow Virtarumadananjana Prana.
Text 14. Tata sa Vishmaya Vishto Harstarumat Dhananjaya Pranama Shesha Devam Pitanjali Abhashata.
Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna bowed his head to offer obeisances and with folded hands began to pray to the Supreme Lord.
Text 15. Arjuna Vacha Pasyami Devamas Deva Dehe Sarvamas Tatha Bhuta Visesha Sangam Brahmanamisham Kamala Sanstam Rishim Shacha Sarvan Urdamascha Diviyan.
Arjun said, My dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and all the sages and divine serpents.
Text 16. Aneka bahudar matra netram pashyami tvam sarvato nantarupam nanantam namatyana punastvabhim pashyami vishveshvara vishvarupa.
O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see in your body many, many arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, expanded everywhere, without limit. I see in you no end, no middle, and no beginning.
Text 17. Kiritinam Gadinam Chakrinam Cha Tejorashim Sarvato Diptimanantam Pashyami Tvam Durunirikshayam Samantar Diptanalara Dyutam Aparam Mayam.
Your form is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence, spreading on all sides, like blazing fire or the immeasurable radiance of the sun. Yet I see this glowing form everywhere, adorned with various crowns, clubs, and discs.
Text 18. Vamaksharam paramam vedityavayam vamasya vishvasya param nithanam vamavyaya sashvatdharmagopta sanatanastvam purusho mato me.
You are the supreme primal objective. You are the ultimate resting place of all this universe. You are inexhaustible and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of the eternal religion, the personality of Godhead. This is my opinion.
Text 19. Anadi madhyantam ananta vidayam ananta bahum sasi surya netram pashyami tvam devtabhutashavakram svatejasa vishvam idam tapantap.
You are without origin, middle, or end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance.
Text 20. Vyama prithivyoridam antaram hi vyaptam Vayakena Ishasya Sarva Vistvata Bhutam Rupam Udram Tavedam Lokatrayam Pravithitam Mahatmana.
Although you see one, you spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between. O Great One, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are perturbed.
Text 21. Amihitvam Sura Sangha Vishanti Kechit Bhuta Pranachalaya Grananti Swasti
Prabhuji, we can't see.
Maharsi Seda Sangas Purvani Tvam Pratiti Pushkalabhi.
All the hosts of demigods are surrendering before you and entering into you. Some of them, very much afraid, are offering prayers with folded hands. Hosts of great sages and perfected beings, crying, all peace, are praying to you by singing the Vedic hymns.
Text 22. Rudraditya Vasoye Tasadya Vishvesvina Marutash Kosmapascha Gandhavayaksasur Sita Sangha Vikshante tvam Vishmitaschaiva sarve.
All the various manifestations of Lord Shiva, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadyas, the Visveda Devas, the two Asvis, the Maruts, the forefathers, the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, and the perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder.
Text 23. Rupam mahate bahuvatra netram mahabahu buhurupadam bahudharma bahudamastra karalam drisvanuka pravyathitas tathaham.
O mighty armed one, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your great form, with its many faces, eyes, arms, thighs, legs, and bellies, and your many terrible teeth. And as they are disturbed, so am I.
Text 24. Navasparsham hitamaneka varnam vyattananam vyaktavishalanetram prisvahitvam pravatheyatam antaratma kritam navinati vinathani kamamacha Vishnu.
O all-pervading Vishnu, seeing you with your many radiant colors touching the sky, your gaping mouths, and your great glowing eyes, my mind is perturbed by fear. I can no longer maintain my steadiness or equilibrium of mind.
Namastra karalani cha te mukhani drastvaiva kalana samihani vishona janena lavesas sharma prasid devase jaganivasa.
O Lord of Lords, O refuge of the worlds, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and harmful teeth. In all directions I am bewildered.
Text 26 and 27. Amichatam dhritarashtrasya putra sarve sahaivavani pala sangha bhishmo drona sutta putrastahasu saharsa madhyarapi yudha mukhe vakatrani te Varam manam vishanti samasra karalani bhayanakani eti kilagna dashamantarisu tadrishyante surinitera utamanega.
All the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings, and Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and other chief soldiers, also are rushing into your fearful mouths, and some I see trapped with heads smashed between your teeth. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vishalini Mataji and Navneet Prabhu, for your kind recitation of the Sanskrit and English. So I will now share my screen. There's a problem with my mouse at the moment. For some reason, my mouse is giving me problems today. Just bear with me. It's not. All right. So welcome everyone to today's chat session. I normally don't present on a Wednesday, but I had to step in at the last minute because we had some changes. So thank you for having me again. My name is Vrindavan Chandra Das, for those who have not interacted with me before, I'm one of the facilitators for our chat session. And if you're joining us for the first time, a warm welcome to you. Before we start, we will firstly say the Mangala Charanam prayers. Mangala means auspiciousness. And before we recite anything, so auspiciousness, largely by glorifying the Guru, the Vaishnavas, the Lord in his incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Panchatattva, and also our Param Guru, Srila Prabhupada. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Malitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachari Shatarini. So today we are going to read text number 5. So this text forms part of a section from text 1 to 8. From text 1 to 4, we have been reading about Arjuna's request to Lord Krishna to show his universal form. And the reason for Arjuna's request is, in the previous chapters, Krishna has described his opulences. So Arjuna wanted to understand one of those opulences in more detail. And that was how Krishna could be a person, but still he could pervade his entire creation, but still be aloof from it. So Arjuna wanted to understand this universal form of how the Lord pervades his entire creation. And now we are going to start a new section. Well, not new section, but in part of the first section, and this text 5 to 8, we are now going to transition from Arjuna's questioning and Arjuna speaking to the Lord now speaking. And before the Lord shows his universal form, which starts to be described in text number 9, the Lord gives Arjuna some sort of a preview of what Arjuna can expect to see. And so this is the start of those verses. So therefore it says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So previously Arjuna is speaking, now Bhagavan, Lord Krishna, is going to speak. And the Lord says, Pascha me partha rupani satashto sta sahasrasaha nana vidhani divyani nana varna kritini cha. And the translation, as given by Srila Prabhupada, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, O son of Pritha, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied, divine and multicolored forms. So Arjuna has not seen anything yet, because we see in text number 8, which is going to be coming up, before he can even perceive the universal form, the Lord needs to grant him some transcendental vision. Because he tells Arjuna, I've got to grant you the eyes to see it. So up to this point, whatever we're reading, this is the Lord giving Arjuna a description of what his form is like. And two aspects in particular in this verse will come out. hundreds and thousands. This means there are many, many forms displayed. And secondly, they are divine. And thirdly, they are multicolored. So we shall read the purport first. Let me see who I can ask to read the purport. Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu, would you like to read the purport for us today? Okay. Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu is probably muted. Karan Prabhu, would you like to read the purport for us today?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, please go ahead.
Yeah. Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in his universal form, which, although a transcendental form, is just manifested for the cosmic manifestation and is therefore subject to the temporary time of this material nature. As the material nature is manifested and not manifested, similarly, this universal form of Krishna is manifested and non-manifested. It is not eternally situated in the spiritual sky like Krishna's other forms. As far as a devotee is concerned, he is not eager to see the universal form. But because Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in this way, Krishna reveals this form. This universal form is not possible to be seen by any ordinary man. Krishna must give one the power to see it.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So again, beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada. And there are some pertinent points which we've not described before, mentioned in this purport. And there are also some other points that are repeated. Previously, we described that as far as a devotee is concerned, he is not eager to see the universal form. And would any of you like to, maybe in your own words, express why Prabhupada has said a devotee is not eager to see this universal form? Jolly Mataji, we discussed this. Why does Prabhupada says a devotee is not eager to see the universal form? Okay, would anyone else like to say in your own realization why Prabhupada is saying this?
Vijay, can I say something?
Yes, please, Divya Gaurangi Mataji.
I feel that Krishna's two-armed form is sweet and universal form is great. So Krishna's greatness and sweetness is there. But for a devotee, we want to be experiencing his sweetness rather than greatness. We want to be close to him and we want to experience like how Krishna is at home, not in the office, like Vishnu form. So yeah, we want to have that nice, like how Gopis have in Vrindavan. We want that, like how Yashoda Mataji is enjoying his childhood. So we want that rather than his greatness. Universal form is great and we want sweet.
That's very nicely expressed. Wonderful. Thank you for that nice realization. That the universal form of Krishna by nature invokes awe and reverence. And actually Prabhupada says in some purports that perception of the universal form is more for the neophyte, for one who is not very mature in spiritual life. And also Prabhupada says the display of the universal form is a special mercy of the Lord to give the atheists and the non-believers some experience of the greatness of the Lord. So now we will discuss one particular point being made, that this universal form is a temporary form. And Prabhupada writes, Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in his universal form, which although a transcendental form is just manifested for the cosmic manifestation and is therefore subject to the temporary time of this material nature. As the material nature is manifested and not manifested, similarly, this universal form of Krishna is manifested and non-manifested. So we have been reading in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna displays himself in many forms. In many, many forms, the Lord appears and displays himself. And most of the forms of the Lord are eternal spiritual forms. And they exist in the spiritual world. We understand in the spiritual world that there are unlimited Vaikuntha planets. And each of these planets, the Lord resides in a particular form. So most of the Lord's incarnations exist in a particular form in one of the Vaikuntha, eternal spiritual planets. But here it is being said that this universal form, the Virat Rupa, it is a temporary form in that it's only manifested in the material world. This form is never displayed in the spiritual world. And Prabhupada says, just like the material nature is manifested and not manifested, similarly the universal form of Krishna is manifested and non-manifested. And in one purport, Prabhupada writes, the living entity has a small material body, taken in various species and forms. And similarly, the whole universe is but the material body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada in this statement, he says, this body is described in the Shastras as Virat Rupa. So just like we take on tiny spiritual soul, takes on a material body, which is temporary. This is just like a coat or a dressing. We will all give up this temporary material bodies at some point in time. In the same way, it is said, the universal form can be compared to be the body of the Lord, temporary body of the Lord. And as we read from the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the planets are considered to be like his eyes. The trees and the vegetation on earth is compared to be like the hairs on his body. The rivers and the streams are considered to be like the veins in our body. So in this way, the whole material manifestation can be conceived as a temporary form of the Lord. This is what is being understood here. So one may ask then, if it's a temporary form, why does Krishna dedicate so much of time in the Gita, in this 11th chapter, 54 verses focused on describing this universal form? And we've already discussed a few reasons for that over the last few days. And just a quick refresh, it is to set the standard, the criteria. The other one is to show his opulences. So, and as Prabhupada writes, is to also give the neophyte and the atheistic persons some opportunity. So Krishna is so kind. He tries to help everyone connect with him. And he does this through the universal form. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd chapter, text 30, Srila Prabhupada writes, the conception of the Lord as the Vishwarup or the Virat Rup is particularly not mentioned along with the various incarnations of the Lord, because all the incarnations of the Lord mentioned above are transcendental, and there is not a tinge of materialism in their body. This is what Prabhupada writes. And Prabhupada says, the Virat Rupa is conceived for those who are just neophyte worshippers. For them, the Virat Rupa is represented, and it will be explained in the 2nd canto. So Prabhupada is explaining that this is a temporary form. And then in a lecture in Los Angeles, 21st February 1969, one devotee is asking Prabhupada, Prabhupada, we were reading earlier this morning in the Bhagavad Gita on the universal form of Krishna when he revealed himself to Arjuna. And he said that celestial beings and devotees and the demons both were fearful when they saw this universal form. How is it that devotees of Krishna, like demigods, can be fearful even if they see the Vishvarupa? And Prabhupada says, because they cannot love Vishvarup. Is that all right? Can you love Vishvarup? If Krishna comes before you with Vishvarup, laughs, you'll forget your love. Don't try to love Vishvarup. Love Shama Sundar, that's all. We have seen Krishna in Vishvarup during wartime. And Prabhupada said, during the wartime where he was present, the world was seeing Krishna's Vishvarup in the form of that war. And then further on in the 14th chapter of the first canto, Prabhupada says, the Virat Rupa of Lord Krishna is also different from him by his inconceivable potency. The Virat Rupa exhibited on the battlefield of Krishna is the material conception of his form. So there are so many descriptions of the Virat Rupa in this context. And the main, for our understanding, is that this Virat Rupa is a temporary form of the Lord. It's only manifested during the material creation. And lastly, one sees the entire creation as the expansion of the Virat Rupa of the Lord. So that is one aspect of the purport and verse. The second statement I would like to examine in a bit more detail is the statement where Srila Prabhupada writes, because Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in this way, Krishna reveals this form. So we can see a few interesting points about this statement. The first thing is that Krishna was not particularly very eager to reveal this form, but because Arjuna wanted to see it, the Lord wanted to reveal it. So Krishna's mood is he reciprocates according to the desire of his devotee. And there are some beautiful verses. One is from the Subhasita Ratna Bandagaram. The Subhasita is an extraction from the various Vedic texts of particular, how can I say, pertinent statements. So there's one statement from the Subhasita where it says, in relation to a deity, a holy place, a Brahman, a mantra, an astrologer, a physician, or a guru, one obtains reciprocation to the degree and type of one's faith. Very, very nice statement. Just like the deity. When one stands before the deity of Krishna, one can think, see the deity as stone, as marble, as metal, as wood, or one can see the deity as a transcendental personality. And according to how one sees the deity will reciprocate according to one's faith. And we know there are so many stories and examples of this. One nice example is the example of Shakshi Gopal. Shakshi Gopal witnessed it's a long past time and I won't go to it, but he witnessed a promise being made in front of him. And the person who made the promise was trying to break the promise. And they both came in front of the deity. And they made the promise. And when the person broke the promise, the other person went to the deity and said, can you please come and bear witness to your promise? And the deity said, I am just a deity. I'm stone. how you expect me to walk and come and bear witness? And then the devotee said, if you can talk, oh Lord, certainly you can walk. And this devotee had so much of faith in the deity that the deity reciprocated. And the same when one goes to the holy place. Like if one goes to Vrindavan, one can see the noise, one can see the open drains and sewers, one can see dust and litter, or one can see Vrindavan as being the transcendental abode of the Lord. And it is said the Dham will reciprocate according to one's faith. And the Brahman and the mantra, just like the Hare Krishna Maha mantra we chant, one can see it just as words, or one can see it as Krishna himself. The same with an astrologer, a physician, or guru. One can see the guru as an ordinary person, or one can see the guru as a transcendental representation, external representation of the Lord. And according to one's reciprocation, to that degree, according to one's faith, to that degree, the Lord, all these different personalities or items mentioned, reciprocate. So faith is a very important aspect of spiritual life. The same principle is enunciated again in the Brahma Samhita, in the text 51, where Lord Brahma says, abandoning all meritorious performances, serve me with faith. The realization will correspond to the nature of one's faith. The people of the world act ceaselessly in pursuance of some ideal. By meditating on me by means of those deeds, one will obtain devotion characterized by love in the shape of supreme service. So Lord Brahma here is actually explaining what the Lord has said. And again, Lord Brahma is raising this very important point. According to one's faith, to that degree, one's meditation and one's service will be characterized by love. The very difference between a neophyte, a beginning devotee, and a very advanced devotee, an Uttama Adhikari, is displayed according to, the difference is the faith. The Uttama Adhikari has implicit, unshakable faith, whereas the neophyte, the beginner, has very palpable, very weak faith. And there are many examples of the Lord reciprocating according to the desires of the devotees. Just like Arjuna desired to see the universal form of the Lord, Krishna reciprocates. And in the Shastra, there are many examples. And I'll briefly mention one or two of them. We all know of the famous example of Sumadra Sen, a king. He had this very strong desire to have the darshan of Krishna. And he used to always think, how can I get the darshan of Krishna? So one day the Pandavas were going around collecting taxes. And Bhim was designated to go to the kingdom of Sumadra Sen to collect taxes. And when Bhim came and he said, I am collecting taxes, Sumadra Sen knew that Bhim is a great devotee of Lord Krishna. And if he fights in such a way that if Bhim is in danger, then Krishna will come to protect his devotees. And he thought to himself, here is my chance to get the darshan of Krishna. And he began to fight in such a magnificent way, firing arrows at Bhim, that even Bhim was completely taken aback, shocked. And actually Bhim's position became very precarious. And the moment Krishna understood that his devotee's position was precarious, he immediately arrived to fight with the king Sumadra Sen. And Krishna actually knew the desire of Sumadra Sen. And when this king saw the Lord appear, he felt like all of his desires were fulfilled. The same is example of grandfather Bhishma. His rasa with Krishna was in chivalrous ras. He wanted to see Krishna in a fighting mood. And he made a promise that he will fight, although Krishna did not want to fight in the battlefield. He will fight so valiantly against Arjuna that Krishna himself will have to take up arms. And then we see in the Mahabharata and the Srimad Bhagavatam, the description, Krishna knowing Bhima's desire to see him in this fighting mode, Krishna took up the broken chariot wheel and attacked him. Shubhanaka in the pastimes of Lord Ram. She was a demoness, but she had this desire to want to have Lord Ram as a beloved. And in the pastimes of Lord Krishna, she came as Kubja, the hunchbacked woman. And in that pastime, Krishna fulfilled her desire. And the same way, the sages of Dandakaranya, when they saw Lord Ram, they were really mesmerized by his beauty. And they were thinking, how nice if they could have Lord Ram as the beloved. And Lord Ram said, in your next life, in my next incarnation as Lord Krishna, you can appear as the gopis. So the Lord reciprocates and shows himself according to the desire of the devotee. So it's already 8:32. I will pause and stop here and take reflections, comments, and questions that any one of you may have. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Vishalini Mataji.
The universal form, is it the expansion of the effulgence, or is it expansion from Krishna himself?
According to Srila Prabhupada's writings, it is the expansion of the Mahat Tattva. In terms of the Lord's creation of the material world, the Mahat Tattva is one of the first expansions of the Lord, and the Virat Rupa is an expansion of the Mahat Tattva, according to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Palike
Please
Mataji.
accept my humble obeisances. I've got a question.
Please accept mine.
I don't know whether I'm making an offense to the holy name. What happened among my friends? He's a very good person, and last year, I approached her to offer her a set of Srimad Bhagavatam, and she wants to reject. I said, "Oh, I'm not very interested in these," and so that was last year. And this year, again, I approached her, but I said, "No, you don't have to sponsor, but I would love to give you because she's done so much for me. I just, as a kind of a appreciation, I said I could offer you." She said, "Oh no, it'll get dust. I'm not very interested." So then I still couldn't stop myself because this is, I just felt it was Krishna's. I was reading this chapter on Rashvadev and chapter 6, and this particular verse when Shukadev Goswami was speaking to Parikshit Maharaj and how he was glorifying Lord Rishabdev. That particular verse, 6th chapter, I think it's 16th verse, and it's so wonderful. I just felt like to kind of recite that verse to anybody who could hear. So I sent it to my few family, and they really appreciated it really. And I sent you this lady. I said, "Please, this verse is so wonderful." I just thought, please forgive me if I'm making any offense. I still send her because it's just so wonderful, so transcendental. And she didn't respond at all. So I don't know whether I'm making an offense to the holy name or what it is. I just want to ask you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Nice question, Mataji, and thank you for extending yourself to someone like that. We all know that one of the offenses to the holy name is to give or preach the holy name to the faithless.
Yeah, and there are 9.
Yes, that's the 9th offense. So in the same way, we know that just like the holy name is not different from Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam is also not different from Krishna. So some people are not quite ready to it. Then the nature of the devotees is to extend themselves and to give Krishna even to those people that do not want it. And the nature of the devotee is that even if someone doesn't want it, the devotee tries. So I guess your question is, how does one know the difference between really extending Krishna's mercy to someone and coming to the point of committing an offense by giving a form of Krishna to someone who doesn't want it?
Yeah.
I would say, as long if the person is neutral, the person is not offending the holy name or Srimad Bhagavatam, one should still try to extend oneself. At the same time, we do not want to force something down someone's throat. And Prabhupada says, the nature of a devotee is expert. Just like an expert physician knows exactly what dosage of a medicine to give to a particular patient. If you give too big dose, it has a negative effect. If you give too small a dose, it doesn't have the required effect. If you give just the right dose, it has the right effect. So the expertise of a devotee is to always want to extend themselves to give Krishna consciousness to others. So we should pray to Krishna to understand, what is the right dose to give, and also be very perceptive, be very conscious of this stage of the other person, and to understand that where they are, and to just give them appropriate. So I think in your situation, you're not being offensive. You are trying, but you also have to be perceptive about how much the person can take, and give accordingly. But it doesn't, just from what you've said, it doesn't sound to me that you're trying to overdose them.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I was feeling just, am I doing right thing? Am I doing wrong thing? I'm trying to get Krishna's mercy, but I know I'm not so elevated to get Krishna's message. But because you are such an elevated devotee, I thought I just ask you, and I'll get your guidance. So
I read something very nice the other day, where Prabhupada is talking about a devotee. He says that Krishna's mercy follows a devotee's mercy. So when a devotee wants to show some mercy to a particular person, Krishna will also bestow that mercy because of the desire of the devotee. Just like Srila Prabhupada says when he went to the West, I desire, O Lord, that you shall deliver them. So just pray for that person who you want to give some Krishna consciousness, who's not able to take it, that Krishna may, as Prabhupada prays, Krishna may give them the intelligence to understand what you're trying to offer them.
thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I just wanted to ask the question what Palika Matadi asked you, and also you gave the answer. I mean, this is, it's my feelings that I got the both answers from both of you. I mean, this is wonderful. I was listening. I cannot just ask because I'm a bit of introvert person, but I was listening carefully, and I don't believe it that I really wanted to answer the questions. You gave me the answer, and Palika Mataji asked the question, the same question I had. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Krishna is very kind.
Yeah,
Hare
I
Krishna.
know.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Is Bhagavati here?
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Mataji.
I just got a question on this where, where we have starts with Pashya me Partha Rupani. So he says that, behold my forms,
Yes.
although unlimited,
Yes.
but not behold all these forms. Is that what it means?
He said, Krishna said, oh Arjuna, now I'm opulence. So which verse is this, Mataji?
It's the same verse.
Same verse, yes.
You said Sri Bhagwan,
Yes.
Pashya Rupani.
Yes.
So he says, behold my forms, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But he doesn't say, not behold all these, because he got unlimited forms, isn't it?
Yes.
So how do we distinguish these two things?
The unlimited forms, and Krishna saying, behold these forms.
Yeah.
Okay. My understanding would be Krishna is saying, behold these forms which I'm going to show you. And although it is unlimited meaning you cannot see them, because by nature the material eyes are limited. But Krishna is going to bestow to Arjuna this vision so that he can see the unlimited forms. I'm not sure if I fully understood, but that's my understanding. Have I understood your question?
Yeah, I think so. But I was just bewildered that behold my form, but not behold all these forms.
Okay.
What I was thinking. Thank you.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Rajesh Prabhu, you had a question before this.
Yeah, I mean, my question is, when we read this chapter as a devotee, I mean, we know that the universal form is temporary and it's a material manifestation. So how do we, as a devotee, kind of reflect on this chapter in terms of what it's trying to say to us? Because I mean, in that exchange between Prabhupada and the devotee, he said, love Shamasundara.
Yes.
And don't try to, love, I mean, you can't love Virat Roop anyway. So how do we kind of think about this chapter?
Very nice question. Very, very nice question. The way I understand it, I'll give my personal realization, and one can only speak according to the level of one's realization. So I'll give you my own realization. For a devotee, before one can appreciate the Lord's Shamasundar form, one has to firstly appreciate the Lord's opulences. And when one appreciates the Lord's opulences, one gets purified. One gets purified. So simply by hearing this 11th chapter, one gets purified, because firstly, it's the Lord's words, and secondly, it's a description of the Lord's opulences. Prabhupada says, just like Prabhupada said, in the temple, when one worships the deity, Radha and Krishna, first one has to worship Radha and Krishna in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan, in the mood of awe and reverence. The advanced devotees of Lord Krishna, they can relate to Krishna as in a very informal way, because their consciousness is very high, they are very purified. Like Sanatan Goswami can tell his Madan Mohan deity, just be satisfied with this chapatis without salt. I'm just a poor, Madan Mohan complained that this chapatis were without salt. And Sanatan Goswami said, I'm just a mendicant. Please just be satisfied with this chapati, what you're getting, because they are very advanced. We are not so advanced. And it really helps us. Even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, a very similar thing is expressed by Prabhupada when Shukadev Goswami in the second canto explains the Virat Rupa form to Maharaj Parikshit. This is largely for our benefit, because by reading the opulences of the Lord in the form of the Virat Rupa, simply by hearing the Lord's words, one gets purified. And when one then approaches Shyamasundar, one can approach Shyamasundar with the right consciousness. That is something Prabhupada taught. First, worship the deity in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan, awe and reverence. And when you're purified, then we will see the Lord as Radha and Krishna, or as Shyamasundar. That is my realization on the importance for devotees to read the 11th chapter, understand the 11th chapter, and even relish the descriptions of the 11th chapter.
I mean, that's a nice way to look at it. I mean, definitely there's a lot of awe in this chapter. It just befuddles you.
Mm-hmm.
But also there's a, I don't know where the reverence comes, it's a bit of fear as well.
Yes.
But maybe that also creates a reverence because you realize the mightiness of the Lord as such.
Yes. Yes. But that realization comes, because Prabhupada says, without that realization, if you go and see Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, you completely misunderstand. You'll see certain aspects of Krishna's personalities and behaviors, and you'll develop doubts in your mind, about the Lord. But if one has gone through the stage of reading Bhagavad Gita, going through the 11th chapter, when we do start to worship Shyamasundar, it'll be in a completely different level of consciousness. Yes.
Yeah,
and the fear will go then. The
fear will go. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
There's one question from Saroj Mataji. Why did Arjuna wanted to see the universal form? There's a few reasons we've already discussed, Saroj Mataji, in the last few sessions. One is Arjuna wanted to set the criteria. In the future, people claim to be God. Let them show the universal form. Two is to understand how Krishna is all-pervading and at the same time standing before him. And the third reason, I just slipped my mind now. Can someone just remind me? I forgot.
Also, what I understand, Vrindavan Chandra, that Arjuna also wanted the people who hasn't got faith in Krishna for future people who doesn't want to take Krishna as the supreme Lord, for them to understand this aspect. That's what I understand.
Yes, for the future benefit. So Hema Mataji has got a question here. It is the way Gop Kumar appreciated Goloka Vrindavan. After having been to all of the other abodes, he was just wanted to see Gopal. Yes, Hema Mataji. Hema Mataji is referring to a book called Brihad Bhagavatamrita, written by Sanatan Goswami. In that book, there's a description of a personality called Gop Kumar, who goes to the various abodes of the Lord. And although he meets so many different personality and great devotees, he does not feel satisfied till he comes to Vrindavan. Yeah, thank you for that comment, Hema Mataji. Anyone else got any comments or questions or reflections?
Thank you, Chandra. Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Every time I hear you, I always feel like, oh my God, it's just so quick. The time goes like that. And I want to just hear more from you about the Krishna's glories and about the devotees, about Srila Prabhupada. It's always so nice to hear you. I don't know, it's always enlightening, like soul have a really like a charming one we listening to you. Thank you very much for your wonderful classes.
Thank you for encouraging me to speak.
No, really, it's a soul awakening classes from you. I always love your classes. Love you so much. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. There's a comment here or question from Santosh Mataji. Are there special prayers recited to pray to Lakshmi and Narayan? I'm not myself, I'm not particularly afraid with any special prayers, but we know from the Srimad Bhagavatam, many of the great devotees of the Lord, and in the first 9 cantos, especially to various incarnations of the Lord, they are excellent prayers offered to the Lord. So you can see Srimad Bhagavatam and read that. Unless anyone else knows if there's any particular prayers to be offered to Lakshmi Narayan, I'm not particularly off the top of my head conversant with any particular prayers. But the Bhagavatam is full of them, the prayers of Gajendra, the prayers of Lord Shiva, the prayers of the Prachetas. It's just full of magnificent prayers. All right, thank you everyone for your kind, wonderful questions. And can you put the details of tomorrow's Katha on the group? Tomorrow's Katha, you mean Saturdays?
Sorry, yes, I'm a day ahead, Saturday. It's too quick for me to copy off the sheet when it's on when you put it on the screen. So if somebody could put it on the group, then I can register for it.
Mataji, I put it on Monday evening, so I'll do it again today.
Yes,
I put the details, but I'll do it
I
again.
was looking through the thing, but I can't see it for Monday.
Okay, if you want, maybe on chat too. I forgot to put it on chat too, but I'll put it on both. I'll put it on both forums.
And I'll do it straight away.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear devotees. Tomorrow we'll have Mukunda Hari's wonderful association again. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Gaura Bhakta
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.